And y'all don't know what I went through.
Do you have a card in your hands right now?
Nike Talk was that place that spiraled what you enjoy now.
Anyone who brought a Kobe shoe in, I would clean it for free.
Man, Melo was better than a lot of people in the league.
I saw that. My favorite jersey's that one, the Barkley.
Kobe fours.
Oh, yeah.
Episode 41. This is the Dandin and RJ Machismo podcast. This is Dandin. My homie RJ Machismo will not be in tonight, but tonight we got a very special guest, an international guest hailing from Toronto, Canada. He is Jon Ratner, also known as Sneakerdads. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having me. Should be fun.
Yeah, so first and foremost, Jon has a podcast called Sneakerdads, and I'm a dad, and I'm sure there's a lot of dad listeners that we have like all over the world. Just want to say thanks for representing us, man. Like, you know how it is when you're balancing, being a husband, a father, it's difficult. Like, and then you still have that passion for sneakers.
Yeah, it's a community, and I don't want to exclude the moms. I've had some moms on the podcast and lots of moms on the Instagram page. So, it's a community for parents and friends and uncles and not even parents and stuff for other people. I want to welcome everyone into it. So, but definitely a little bit of that focus on what you're talking about for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, for coming on. So, just a little icebreaker with you, Jon. Tell us more about yourself.
So as you mentioned, I'm from Toronto. I'm a parent of two. I got a 13-year-old girl, a 9-year-old boy, a supportive wife. Most of the time, we might get into that in terms of sneaker habits. I talk about that a lot on my podcast, but my wife's a frontline worker, like we talk about it being in your co-host in the medical field. So big shouts to her for that. I've been sort of holding the fort down at home. I'm a journalist by trade, so I write financial news and big baller, play lots of ball. My son plays a lot of ball, and big Raptors fan, and been pretty serious collector for a while. We'll talk about that too, I'm sure. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, I see you're draped with the Toronto Blue Jays hat. At least you guys, Canada is very one thing about Canada, because I went to Canada several times, during my younger years. I have family in Mississauga. You guys are first and foremost I would say a sports country, because when you guys had the Blue Jays, and especially when you guys had the Raptors in '95, you guys were just all about it. So, and of course, like Maple Leaves, that's a different can of worms, waiting for that big moment to happen. But hey, you just recently won the NBA championship with the Raptors, which that's a really big deal.
Yeah, and we have a very multicultural city here in Toronto, and Canada as a whole is very multicultural. And hockey's been around for a long time, and I think when the Raptors came to the city in '95, like you mentioned, it gave people who, maybe their families, maybe they weren't first generation, maybe they're second generation, but it gave them something, I think. And I don't want to speak for everyone, I don't want to generalize, but a lot of people, basketball is more of a global game than hockey. So it gave them something to attach to the city and to be proud of. So, you go to a Raptors game, you see the representation of the city, and it's nice. And not everyone even knows about hoops, but it's a place where everyone comes together. And it was nice to get a ring. And we had two seasons in a bubble, so I'm going to put an asterisk on both of those seasons, and I'm going to say we're defending champs. So I hope everyone likes that.
Hey, it's all right. I mean, like I said, you have that gold. You have that gold. You have that Larry O'Brien trophy at Air Canada Center, and then you can't take that away. I mean, we can talk. Just talking off topic. You guys were like the very first like fans watching outside the stadium with that Jurassic Park, and then
Yeah, it's
a
wild.
lot of like cities caught on, but you know even in the cold you guys were watching, and it's like zero, you guys use Celsius, right? Celsius, like sub-zero temperature, and you guys are still watching. It's insane. Like the loyalty is just unmatched compared to like any like NBA city. You guys are like hardcore.
Yeah, and like I said, hockey may be the national sport. I actually don't think it is. I think it might be lacrosse. I should know, but hockey may be what you associate Canada with. But like I said, Raptors and basketball, everyone embraced it, and people were outside. Probably people who've never even been to a Raptors game were out there just to be there. And yeah, the team hasn't been in town. They didn't come back last year. They didn't allow any traveling team, so we were the only team last year that was stuck. We were stuck in Tampa.
Yeah.
So it's going to be different for us in October. It's going to be bringing back the champs. I mean, I guess they were here from October to March of that 2 years ago, but we really haven't had that full season of being the champs the year after. So the city's ready.
Yeah, and like I said, it's well deserved. Even though Kawhi was just there for one season, he did promise that he was going to deliver it, which he did. But that's another topic for another day. But we're
Yeah.
we're primarily the want to talk about sneakers, which is what the main thing is. So what got you into sneakers, John?
I have to credit my brother. I've told the story before, but when we have to take it back to about 87, 88, he's a few years older than me. So me being in my early 40s still, he had his first job at McDonald's. He had his first job at McDonald's, and he picked up a pair. I don't know if he picked them up at the same time or not, but pretty quickly he had a pair of True Blue 3s and Black Cement 4s. He was into rap music. He was into hip hop. He was into urban culture, clothes. He knew what was going on. Let's just say that. And in the community that we grew up, some people did know what was going on. But at that time, we didn't live downtown Toronto. We lived kind of in the outskirts of downtown. Not outskirts of downtown, but not people didn't really know unless you were paying attention. And he introduced me to music and sneakers and movies and Spike Lee movies and stuff like that. Public Enemy, all that stuff. An older brother teaching me the ways. I didn't have a pair. I didn't get any heat back then. My parents got me AirTech Challenge 2 Hot Lavas. Can't complain. That's a pretty good pair to pick up for you don't have a job. So I wasn't suffering. I didn't get a lot of shoes over the years. That was the only notable one. I remember, I had plenty of kind of bootleg sneakers my mom would buy me at cheap stores and stuff like that. But that was the pair kind of, I think it was sort of the consolation for me when I didn't get, when my brother got his pairs, but I remember he got those. And over the years, and I just followed his lead. Older brother, 4 years older, taught me about music. And as that sort of evolved, I discovered things on my own, discovered, various, mostly I would say rap music and hip hop culture taught me, the ways of, urban fashion, if you want to call it like that, when it was in junior high, whether it was polka dot shirts back in the day or Air Jordans or, cross colors we were rocking, like all sorts of stuff. That's where it started. And it didn't really get serious until I was an adult. I guess I had that sort of gap when I was a teenager and student where I had no money. And I always look through pictures and I can never find myself wearing anything good. So I definitely didn't focus on it when I didn't have any money. But when I got my first job as an adult, I started slowly picking up sneakers. But it wasn't until, probably around 2006 that I started collecting. I remember it was a trip to New York with my then girlfriend, now wife. Saw some Jordan 4s in New York for cheap. They didn't go for much back then. And brought them home. And I cared about them for the first time. I cared about a sneaker. And that's sort of where it started. And since then, it's sort of grown and grown and grown and spiraled. And I've said this too, as a dad, I find, like, I think there's a combination of wanting to be your own person, I think, and you have a family and you're in this unit, so you want to show that maybe you're an individual, so you want individual style. Not that's a theory another one of my guests said, and I kind of jumped on it and kind of believe it. But it was also when you have a kid, you stop going out, you stop partying as much, you stop
Hmm.
spending money on things that, you know, might just disappear and just end up in as a headache the next morning,
Yeah.
because you already have a headache because you didn't sleep that night because you have a baby probably,
Yeah.
and started hunting on eBay and doing things like that. So I think that played a role in my sort of collecting getting serious.
Nice. So like you were saying, like how many years apart was you and your brother? Like you guys are
3.5, 4 years,
okay.
almost like my kids.
So like I'm assuming like your parents bought you and your brother shoes. So and then I'm assuming your brother had the cooler pairs. So did your brother like hand you down like the pairs that no longer fit him when you guys were kids?
So my parents actually didn't buy us anything good, and that's why my brother, I don't know if he got the job at McDonald's because he wanted Air Jordans. I have a feeling he did. I have a feeling he got that job specifically for those shoes
Mm-hmm.
because he was serious. He was into it. He was into, I remember we got WGN here in Canada. There wasn't a lot of basketball on TV, but we did get WGN. So we got Bulls games.
Yeah.
So, like a lot of people, for some reason that channel was available to a lot of cities, and he watched and I watched because he was my bigger brother, and we watched the Spike Lee commercials, and he led me to believe that this was cool, this mattered, this was something, this was part of the culture, you should be paying attention, this is important, this is dope. And but my parents didn't buy us anything. Like I said, I don't know how I got those AirTech challenges. Maybe I had some birthday money lying around. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I should ask them. They probably wouldn't remember at all. They'd be like, what are you talking about? They're not they're not that type of parents.
Yeah.
But so my brother didn't, I don't remember him having any other shoes of note. I mean, after we had Flight 89s and things like that, and basketball shoes, it was mostly sort of, like good good to good range basketball shoes, but nothing. I don't even remember Jordans in my brother's collection after, because he was soon in high school, and you know he had those Jordans. I still look for them, and he handed them down to me, those two OGs, the threes and the fours, but it wasn't like we had a bunch of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
um, those were the only shoes I know. And I look in pictures, I see things like Rod Lavers, I see like New Balance 574s, I see K Swiss, and I see lots of kind of just like knockoff Converse, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Chuck Taylors and stuff like that. So really, we weren't sneaker kids. It was just those three pairs almost that were of note because and then basketball shoes. We both played basketball growing up, so we had Nike basketball shoes, but it was sort of like whatever was on the shelf.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess I guess we were in that era where, like for me, for example, like I would get like one cool pair of sneakers per every year, and that would be my everyday shoe. So that'll be my school shoe, that'll be my basketball shoe, that'll be my going out shoe. Basically, until like I get birthday money or like Christmas or holiday money, then get another pair because I guess for us, like we didn't had that variety, or we didn't have that privilege. Hey, like I had like two or three pairs. It's like you only have that one specific pair back in the day, and it's like come to think of it, it's like you actually appreciate it more because you have like memory. Oh, I remember I played basketball in the snow, or I remember like I went to the amusement park with these. So it has more memories come if you think about, like, for me, I have more memories with wearing one pair of shoes compared to like now it's like multiple, and then you just you know how that is.
Yeah, and now that I come to think about it, I had pumps. I don't know when the D Brown kind of pump era was. It could have been way later. I have
90,
no.
like 90, 91.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that would have been, I guess, junior high. So I had those.
Hmm.
So now it's ringing some bells.
Yeah.
But I probably played ball in those. Like I played ball uh, for my school. So I guess my parents would buy me a reasonable pair for that. But it
Hmm.
was never It was never that serious. I remember it was clothes, to be honest. I was way more into clothes. I was way more into jerseys. I always wanted to. I played hockey as a kid, and we'd go down to the States, and I probably could have been buying sneakers the whole time, but all I wanted to go get was Champion jerseys. We'd hit those Champion outlets that I don't think exist anywhere now, but
Mm-hmm.
they would have, you know, you'd get a jersey and it would be you'd want the one without the factory defect, but half the time you'd settle for the factory defect. It would have, you know, Larry Johnson's number on the front and then Johnson on the back with no number, or like Robert. I remember I had a Robert Parrish, but he
Yeah.
spelled his name with two R's, and I was like, I didn't care.
Yeah.
It was first of all, it was legit, even though I wore bootleg things back then if that's all I could get.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, this is a Champion NBA jersey, and I can't even get this stuff in Canada. I'm sure I could somewhere, but it's like getting it for $12 at the outlet. It was
Yeah.
the greatest thing. And you know, we'd get cross colors at outlets. We'd get these, you know, you probably remember, get like a pair of jeans. I forget what the brand was, but it'd be like half leather and it'd be half denim, and it'd be like
Whoa.
all this crazy stuff. And we just looked like, you know, like hooligans, and it was amazing. We loved it. And it was,
Yeah.
and again, you know, we'd go downtown and see what the culture was down there, but we were a little bit separated, especially when we were too young to, you know, have a car and have a lot of money. It would just be like, okay, we're going to the arcade downtown, wear your freshest stuff. And then, you know, the truth is, try not to get rolled, because in the major city, you have to watch out. You're wearing your like Michigan, like nice big Michigan hat with the huge font. It's like someone's gonna grab that from you. So it's almost like you had to tone it down when you went outside of your own neighborhood. So that was a factor too. It was kind of
Wow.
like just keeping an eye on it. It's big city. Even back then, it was big city life. I don't know what it's like now. I don't want to know, but for kids roaming the streets. But I remember that back then. For me, it was way more about clothes.
That's awesome. So like growing up, I mean, you said that you had WGN. What was like your fondest memories? Like, because I'm assuming you were a fan of the Chicago Bulls and
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. What was your memories like watching TV? And can you like recall like Jordan, you know, like his sneakers that he was wearing during that time?
I got to tell you, I can't remember the sneakers. What I remember is the commercials.
Okay.
I remember Bo Jackson commercials. I remember Spike Lee commercials. I remember those are etched in my mind. You know, big games, sure. I remember watching. We watched the finals. We watched the Bulls get their Mike got his first ring. We watched all that.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, so
Yeah.
maybe that's a factor. I remember the last shot much more vividly. It was a
Yeah.
lot later in his
Yeah.
career. I remember where I was, and I remember all that. But you know, I don't remember the shoes, but I remember the commercials, because we were waiting for the commercials, whether it
Mhm.
was All-Star game or whether it was just a regular game. And that
Yeah.
was my brother's influence. We were waiting for the commercials, because they were they were almost as entertaining in a different way
Mhm.
as the game. He was doing magical things on the court, but the commercials were like nothing you've ever seen. Nike was doing, you know, it was I know it wasn't the beginning, but it seemed like it was the beginning of their marketing sort of revolution. Um, in that era, not just the Spike Lee and Jordan stuff, but the Bo Jackson and the McEnroe and all that stuff. Um, Air Tech Challenge, um, air trainers, and those tennis kind of hybrid Bo Jackson
Medicine
type of
balls.
shoes.
Yeah.
And yeah, those ones were those ones were notable for me too. I think I had a pair. I can't find any evidence.
Yeah.
I feel like my brother or I had a pair, but again, I can't even remember. Again, footwear wasn't other than my brother getting those and me getting the Air Tech challenges. It's funny. I look at these photos and I go through the photo albums, and it's like we weren't that family where it was like showing off the shoes in the pictures. They're all cut
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
or they're blurry. And I was like, what am I wearing? I just want to see. Am I
Yeah.
wearing
Don't
am I
feel
wearing
bad.
trainer ones? Like, did I have chlorophylls? But that's some history
Yeah.
is lost forever. So I will
Hey,
never
you
know.
know, yeah. I mean, like I said, you have you and your brother and your family have those memories. You know, it might be jaded, you know, in your mind, but at least in your heart, like you knew you wore them, you know, at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You know, whatever it is shaped, my love for it now, whatever it was, whether it was seeing it on TV or having it or whatever. And a lot of a lot of guests and friends I know have, it was like grade 4, started collecting, never missed a release, have them all. Like some people are like that. um I never had the money, and my parents never did it for me, and I didn't have the serious passion
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. Like I said, as a kid, you have those like memories, right? That's all you can just cherish, and you'll always remember them no matter what. Even if you explain to other people, you just have to say, yeah, maybe some point I did wear them. I can't recall. My feet was cut off at pictures. It was blurry, like you were saying.
Yeah, I don't know, but I make my son watch those Spike Lee commercials now. I still think they're pretty cool. The
Ah,
Bo Jackson ones. I got like a little Bo Jackson original poster, and I said, "You want to put this up in your room?" He's like, he just cleaned out his room of all this kind of stuff that I influenced him for,
yeah,
and he's
yeah.
like, "You know what, Dad? You can have that one." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take it." I got a
I,
space for it. I got my man cave,
even
my
better. I like that answer
sneaker.
because it's gonna come back to me anyway.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One day he'll want when he's size 11. He'll say, "Dad, can I get those chlorophyll trainer ones?" And I'll say, "Oh yeah, now you want them, eh? Now you want the poster too?" He'll be like,
All
"Okay."
right, there you go. That's music to the ears. All right, so next question for you, John. So, yeah, I see you have a lot of sneakers in the background, a lot of sports memorabilia. Show us like your top favorite sneakers that you own. So let's say like a top five.
Yeah, this is always tough, but I've done this before, so I think I could do it.
Okay.
For me, usually the number one goes back to the Air Max. I
Oof.
like the blue. This is the '09 version. I don't love the newer ones. I'm crazy about the toe dents, so I'll go back to this one. One day it's going to need a soul swap, but yeah, Air Max One has to be there for me. And if it's not blue, it's red. But for me, I go blue.
Okay.
Uh, this one sort of have to throw it in because it's a quintessential dad shoe for me, at least. It's a 577. This one doesn't have laces because it's my double. It's a 577. I think this is the ANN, the anniversary.
Okay.
Just like a straight up wear any day, anytime. But the
Wow.
577, the shape is beautiful. This is made in the UK, so the leather's great. And yeah, I mix it up. I have a lot of brands. I have Asics, Diodora, Saucony, lots of Jordans. Um, so have to show that. Um, this this I shouldn't have actually pulled this one out, but it's more fun to show off an 85. I actually like the 94/95
Wow.
better than this for some reason, but this one's cooler because it's 85. So I'll show off this one. But the Jordan 1 Chicago, just for nostalgia purposes, and I feel like you can wear this anytime. I love the black toe. I've actually sold a lot of my Jordan 1s.
Wow.
Just kind of feel like, you know, better to have the OGs, and
Yes.
I
So
don't need all the
do you still wear
colorways.
them, John? Do you still wear the
Oh yeah, yeah.
85s?
So I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs of 85s. They're all wearable. I
Wow.
got them all. I got them all before the hype, obviously, because now you can't buy these.
Right.
I think, not that I would look down upon anyone who bought them, but I think it's a little bit wild to be buying them
It
now.
is.
And
It
they
is.
probably won't ever go down, to be honest.
No.
This is probably it. Like, if you want a pair, it's probably now is a better time to buy them than it will be in a couple of
Yeah.
years, because it is what it is. I mean, I think a lot of sneakers are going to go down in the next few years, but Jordan 1s from 85 probably not. But I do like the 95s a little bit better. Just something about them. The 94, 95s, depending on who you are, you will call them a different year. But the Chicago's are just something
Wow.
about them. I didn't pull them out because they're buried. Sorry. My
No.
other favorite Jordan. You know what? I love white cement 88s. I love black cements. I have a pair of I like these ones a lot. I'm gonna break the rule and go one extra, but these are the 94s again. Like, I like the old ones.
Wow.
I get them soul swapped, and again, these are probably out of price range now, but I just got lucky. I got into old. I guess I got into the quality of older shoes quite a while back. Not way back, but like, before even Jordans took off and Dunks took off. So I got lucky. I got a nice handful of old Jordans and older Dunks that just you can't really and I've sold some of them because I thought they were overpriced. But the one I love is the Shadow '09. And for anyone who knows that pair, it's got the Jumpman on the back,
Yes,
but it's got the crazy suede.
it does.
And I love the Shadows. That probably is more wearable for me than the Chicago's. I had to show the Chicago's because they're special to me. But the Shadows '09 are definitely
I
up there
love
for me.
those.
Yeah, though that's just a pair that is still sort of slept on. I think you can still get it for reasonably. You can't get a 2013 Shadow for any reasonable price. You definitely can't get a 2016 for a reasonable price. But the '09s you could still get, and they're better quality. Um, um, and then last but not least, kind of like another dad shoe, but like the most hype dad shoe and the most hype of anyone's shoe.
Whoa,
Yeah, these ones are special to me, and I need to wear them more.
Mars.
You know my philosophy. If anyone follows a page, actually on the podcast, I have, when I don't interview a dad or a mom, I do wear everything, and I ask people, do you wear everything? And I have a page actually called Wear Everything, where the whole philosophy is just wear your shoes, and everyone says that in another way or not. My hashtag, you wear everything. So this one I need to work on with the wear everything. It's very hard to wear this shoe. And it's
Wow.
funny, my son has pairs, but they never made them. They made the little kitty ones, and they made the adult ones.
Yeah.
They never made them in the in between pairs. So I've said this on my podcast. I'm not ashamed to say I've got my son. What will we call them? We'll call them. I think 2J's Kicks called them novelty pairs or something like that. I forget what I always forget what he called it, but he used a good term because as any sneaker dad or sneaker mom knows, and not just sneaker dads and sneaker moms, there's like this market for hype sneakers that for kids that they don't make in kid sizes. So
Right.
it would be like a Travis one. I don't think they made those new ones in kid sizes, did they? I don't think.
No, they didn't.
So like guys will make them, and some people will make them in bootleg factories, but some people will make them a little bit more high quality. So I found these Mars yards for kids, and they didn't look exactly the same, but the quality was unbelievable. And if anyone's ever worn a Mars yard, they're super comfy. They're easy to slip on. They are what they advertise. They're durable. They're comfy. You can beat them up. They still look good. So my son I got him one pair. I said, he was little then. He was maybe a size 3Y. I said, try these, or 2Y. Actually, even smaller. I kept them all. I'll show you. I have a bag.
Yeah.
And they're, because it's been his number one shoe. After all the Jordans I buy him. After all the nice shoes I buy him, he likes these bootleg Mars yards the most. Not because I have them, because they slip on. They got the pull tab.
Yeah.
They're not flashy. He doesn't want them to be flashy. And they're durable. And now he's too big. Now, if I bought him a bootleg Mars yard, I would consider it a real bootleg Mars yard, because it would be in a real size, because he's getting up there. So I can't buy it anymore, because I don't buy fakes. But psychologically, it's like, okay, if you can't get it in his size, if Nike doesn't make it in his size, well then it's okay. Yeah. But like, it doesn't make any sense.
It falls on him, not on you, right?
It's a justification. It falls on Nike. Like, Nike, make it for him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna really pay $1,000 for kid shoe? No. But they're amazing. I if anyone checks my feed, I'm not shy posting that pair of his. So anyway, that's the last one. I have to put it on there. I gave up a lot of shoes for that one. And I shout out actually Net Magnetism. That was his personal pair.
Whoa.
He is not that size, so they were a little too big for him. So we worked out a deal, and here they are, sitting waiting to be worn before the rain and snow comes. So I gotta bust them out.
That is insane. So a couple questions. We want to rewind it back to the OG pairs that you have. And this is for our listeners, because you've been in the game for quite some time, John. What's the difference between wearing an original pair and a retro pair?
Well, personally, I think some of the retro pairs are quite comfortable. The newer Jordan 1s, for example, I think are much more comfy. Let's leave aside whatever they're doing with the comfort pairs and new ones. Just a regular OG one high um, comfort. The leather is soft. The you know, there's something to be said for a midsole and tooling that's not 35 years old. Like, let's get real. Some of these Jordan ones are quite hard, crunchy. I'm lucky these ones aren't. Um, you know, they're they're old and they're made with harder leather now. You know, the 85 highs that they released, the first one was the reverse spreads, I think.
Yeah,
In and then they did the pack with the what was the one they did the pack with the
airship.
yeah, thank you. They did the white and reds.
Hmm.
Those ones I would love one day. And then the neutral grays, the first actual OG colorway in the 85s, which I love. If you put that in your hand beside another one, you'll notice right away the leather is different and it's harder. And some people complained about the leather being too hard on those 85 highs, the new 85s, um, the the uh, the neutral grays, for example. Um, but as someone who actually likes the 2013 Jordan ones, the Shadows, the Breads, the Royals, all those, I actually like those better than the more recent retro. The tumbled, those tumbled softer leathers, the sort of shattered backboard leather. It's a matter of personal preference. But first of all, the originals don't have tumbled leather, right? The originals never had tumbled leather, so it shouldn't be like that if you're trying to stick to the OG, which I am. But what drives me the most crazy, and it happens with a lot of shoes, it happens with Dunks, it happens with Air Maxes, is the toe box. And I said this with these shoes, with the Air Max ones, the toe box gets dented, so it's almost too soft for me.
Hmm.
It doesn't have the structure that I like. More comfortable for sure, the newer ones, but totally different aging experience. When you look at the shoe, I mean, it has been pretty worn. The creasing is nowhere like I knew. I remember when I had shattered backwards, I had 3 pairs. At one point, they weren't hype when they came out. I remember they dropped at outlets or they were in Vegas. I remember there was like a ton of pairs in groups. And then I got a few pairs and I wore mine. And number one, when I got rain on it, it was like, what happened to these shoes? Like something happened to the shoe when rain hit it. But it was also the creasing just did something to me. It just scared the hell out of me. So
Yeah.
now that's me. Again, people love OG highs, the new ones. They're soft, they're comfortable. I can't hate on them, but that's from my personal perspective. That's why I like even 2013s. I don't happen to have any 2013s anymore because I have the black toes, but I like the way they crease better. I like the way they look better. They are less comfortable, I have to admit. So, and I think the same goes for a lot of the other older retros. Thinner padding. The threes have thinner padding from '94, um, but but that's the trade-off, right? They look different, they have a different shape, they have a different angle. I'm not going on long hikes with them anyway.
No.
I'm driving my kids to school,
Yeah.
or I'm going to a concert, maybe going to a bar. I can handle a little bit of lack of padding.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, those are amazing. That those 85 ones that you have. I had a guest. He bought a pair of 85s, and he said the padding wasn't what was it? Yeah, it wasn't deteriorating yet, but you can hear a little bit. I'm not sure if that was the word, but I know
Yeah.
that's like the number one thing about like owning an 85 pair, making sure the padding is not like scrunched up with the
Yeah, I mean, it can be. You obviously don't want it to be. Usually it's in the collar.
okay.
It means what will eventually happen is it'll, you know, lose sort of its structure. It'll be maybe more floppy. So if
Mhm.
you want the padding to be firm
Right.
and in the collar and soft, uh, um, the other thing that can happen, it's never happened to me, but air units can bottom out. Apparently you can feel that. I don't know if I would feel it. They feel not that comfortable
Yeah.
in the first place compared to a lot of the other shoes, more modernized shoes. But the other thing that can happen is apparently midsoles, outsoles can get so hard they can sort of crack,
Okay.
and it'll be kind of like, yeah, just crack, like split.
Right.
I fortunately haven't had that. People talk a lot about climate, and
Mhm.
obviously you're supposed to store your shoes in a dry place and
Yeah.
slightly cool. But I think there's like a balance of moisture you want. You don't want them to completely dry out either, right? So
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's luck where shoes are stored. Sometimes you see someone gets a shoe, and one shoe is one color and one shoe's the other because it's been wrapped and it's been on display.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, what do you do? It's like, you're gonna put the other one in the sun. So a lot of those factors beyond your control, unless you've had them since 85.
Yeah.
Just lucky who you buy them from, and pay close attention to. But yeah, those are the things to check for. You want to check for the crunchy collars. You want to check for the sole not cracking. And if there's a way to check for an air unit, I wouldn't know what it is, other than maybe pull the footbed out and stuff.
Wow.
I don't
Hey,
know about
that's
that.
amazing. I mean, just for you to own an OG pair, I mean, that's props. Because
Well, I'll tell you a good story, because I had a pair of dead stock OG Chicago's. This is actually my second pair, and I was in Vegas it's probably about 5 summers ago now. It might be 4, but at least that long ago. And I went to Urban Necessities. Everyone knows Urban Necessities. It was in their old location,
Mhm.
and I was looking for a pair of cream Ultra Boost. That was the era. So it was a while ago. And I was looking on their website, cream Ultra, and they didn't. I showed up. They had my pair. I showed up. It was gone. So someone bought it in between the time when I checked the night before or whatever. And I was there with another couple. My wife and I were actually renewing our vows. I was like 10 years, but it really was 11 years. And we were renewing our vows. We did like a drive through, like a Elvis. We did the whole thing. And then we were hanging out at the pool one day, and I was like, I got to do my sneaker time for myself. This is a vacation, and every sneakerhead needs that sneaker time to go check out the shop. So I went to 12 a.m. run. I think Nas, I haven't heard from that shop in a while, but it was like Nas's shop. I did a couple stops, but I had to go to Urban Necessities. So no Ultra Boost. I was like, damn. And I played the machines. They were the innovators of the Keymasters. So I played Keymaster for probably like an hour.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
just hanging out. I was just having fun. I didn't think I was going to pick up anything. I started browsing the shelves, and Dunks, they had a bunch of Dunks, and I found a pair of Skunks. And I said, damn, Skunks, wow. And they were a couple $100. They weren't much. I said, okay, I'll get the Skunks. Why not? I came here for Ultra Boost. They were cheaper than what the Ultra Boost would have been.
Wow.
Good condition Skunk Dunks. I still have them. I actually sold them. Net Magnetism raffled them to a friend who won them and was buying a house and had to sell them back. And I got them in another raffle. That's another story.
That's insane.
So I sold them and I got them, so I can never sell them again. And then I looked, I had this like tiny case, Urban Necessities heat locker, heat case now is huge. It was this tiny, like kind of like one of these, like, IKEA shelves with with glass, like maybe like 8 pairs behind it. And they had a pair of Chicago ones. I looked at them, no box, dead stock 85 Chicago ones. Like that's a grail. If anything's a grail, it's a dead stock 85 to me. If anyone ever asked what my grail was, that's what it was. And it was a lot of money, but it was only $1,200. That's a lot. That's a ton of money. But luckily, that weekend in Vegas, the couple I was with did not gamble. I was ready to gamble. And anyone who goes to Vegas, you always hopefully have like a gambling budget. My gambling budget was not $1,200. It was less than that. I saw it as kind of those once in a lifetime things. I got the Skunks too. I didn't put down the Skunks. It was an expensive trip to Urban Necessities, but it was an amazing trip. Like both of them were, even at that point, 5 years ago, $1,200 for dead stock Jordan 1 Chicago's was a steal for me. I knew it was a steal, but there was no market for them back then. No one cared. No one was, I mean, people did, but I didn't. And it wasn't mainstream to hunt for that stuff. It was nowhere like vintage wasn't like it was now. So I sold them a couple years ago for way more, except for now, if I would have kept them, they would have been worth even way more than I tripled my money,
Yeah.
and now I would have like got 20 times my money. Like now
No.
those are worth like 30 grand or 20, who knows.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the story of the Chicago's. But
Yeah. I mean, you know, just like what Fat Joe said, right? Yesterday's price is not today's price.
that's
And
absolutely right.
your story is like the prime example of like buy some, you know, buy a grill that you've been wanting all your, you know, all your lifetime, and then, you know, sold it, you know, made a couple, you know, like a nice little chunk of change. Now you look back, you know, Last Dance and the hype of Jordan ones, it just quadrupled, you know, even 100 times more than what you bought them for. You just like shake your head, you know. But I always tell people like it's the memories that you have with the sneaker, right? Like it's what you did, you know, it's what where you wore them, what you did in them, and then, you know, when it's time to let them go, it's time to let them go.
And that's why I sold them, because I wasn't wearing them. I had this other pair, and I was looking at them as an investment, and I don't like to do that anymore. And that's kind of where the wear everything philosophy came from. It's kind of like my son influenced me on that. I've told this story too. Yeah, I had a pair of Heinekens, wore it on my 40th birthday, didn't wear them again. And then he said, "Dad, you got to wear those Heinekens or you got to sell them." And I got them from Netmag, and he said, "You got to sell them." And I wore them to pick him up from school one day, and it started raining, and I panicked.
Oh,
No, they didn't get ruined, but I
okay,
was like, "I'm
okay.
taking these off." He's like,
Yeah, yeah,
"Dad, they're shoes." And it was my little, you know, he was probably 6 years old back then, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah, he was 6 years old, and he was teaching me a lesson about wearing my shoes. And I said, "You know what? These shoes are causing me more stress than fun." So I got rid of them, and that's why I got rid of the Jordan 1s, because I was worried about the paint chipping off. I was worried about touching them. I didn't want to show them to anyone. I didn't want to, you know, I was worried about
yeah,
them getting stolen or all
yeah,
these things. And they weren't giving me any joy. I had a pair that I wear now
yeah.
comfortably. I could beat them. I don't mind. I don't plan to sell them. And I actually sold them to a store in Toronto, OD Toronto, and have some friends there. And they put them on display right at the front of the store. It was cool. And then my son and I, before Raptor game, we went to check them out. We look at them. He's like, "Dad, those are your shoes." I'm like, "Yeah, they're my shoes. I'm still not wearing them." He's like, "Yeah, and you got the money, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." So it was kind of like, you know, it's like you say, the stories. I don't need them. And yeah, it would be nice to have them in in a museum. I don't have a museum.
Yeah.
Some people may look at this like it's a museum, but I don't want to think of it like that.
No, it's just like, you know, I mean, like you're saying, it's a man cave, right? Just of your belongings, and your son adores it, and eventually when he grows to your size, like he wants, you know, wants to wear a couple pairs here and there. Kind of like my son too. Like he's only 6. He said, like, can I have your shoes when I get older? Oh, absolutely, it's all yours. You know,
Yeah.
if it's still wearable, then yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah, we might not be wearing as many by
Exactly.
then.
Might do another like soul swap on a 3 or something. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. All right. So more about sneakers, John. So with the Canadian sneaker culture, especially in Toronto, explain to us what the sneaker culture like is in Canada.
You know, I don't think it's at this point it's that different from the US. However, you know, I live in Toronto, major city, very always been very influenced by American culture. That being said, you know, so the things we want are very much the same. Um, we don't have sneakers app, we have sneakers website, so it's the same. You know, we share supply with Europe, so you know we're kind of a little bit on the outskirts of what you guys get. We don't get all the drops. Toronto has a lot of good boutiques, a lot of tier 0, tier 1, so we have no shortage here. And obviously things have changed during COVID. You know, a lot of it's online now, a lot of, you know, you can kind of, and it's been evolving over the years that you can buy from any site anywhere in the world now. So I think the globalization of commerce is coming together in terms of sneakers too, and that's inevitable. But um, we do have, and I like to think it's still going strong. More, I don't want to say more, but a tight knit community. There's probably fewer sneakerheads, um, in Canada per capita than there is in the US. That's just me guessing on my experience, but I'm sure we're catching up on average. Or maybe it's just the fact that it feels like we know each other and we're close with each other and we talk and community. But at the same time, I have tons of friends in the US, who are part of the community, who are friends that I know in Canada and things like that, and so on. So I think maybe it used to be very niche and tight knit, and 15 years ago, when I was getting serious, it was very small. It felt very small, and that you could know everyone in your city and know everyone. I still feel like that now. Like we know who's who, and we welcome people in. But I wouldn't imagine it's too different from a city that's in similar size. I think of like Houston or Chicago. I mean, similar sizes to Toronto, probably a little different um in terms of the community, and I think probably because people have been doing it longer there, maybe
Right.
that's why. We talked about some sneaker shops in Toronto that have been around for ages and people have been doing it. um Certainly a lot of people have been doing it for a lot longer than me, but I think in the States, sneaker culture has been bigger and stronger longer. Um, Maybe that's why maybe I'm not giving Canada, Toronto enough credit. I certainly want to give the OGs and the old people who've been around and know the history, and a lot of them been on my podcast. I have a lot of Toronto and Canadian sneaker connoisseurs who know a lot about the history, local history. But I think it's just a function of it being smaller, and um, to some degree, we like to think we're polite and inclusive. I don't know if we're that different.
Yeah, I mean, Canadians are just polite. Period. Like pardon and thank you. I
you
never
know,
heard someone say like pardon so many times.
there I don't want to be negative, but there's still the same, jealousy and things like it's there. I mean,
Hmm.
you know, um, people support each other. I'm in a lot of chats and things like that where people look out for each other, but I think that happens everywhere. I think, people talk negatively about the sneaker culture in a lot of ways, whether it's looking down on kids who are hype beasts, and or people reselling and culture like that. I don't have a problem with any of it, as long as people are nice to each other, and don't look down on each other and do bad things to each other and realize they're just sneakers. It's kind of simple to me that way. It's kind of, it's just being a good person. You don't really have to, it's not any more complicated than that. It's like anything else you're going to do in life. Are you going to look out for your neighbor's kid if you see them in the park? Are you going to look out for someone who puts their bag down in line, and um someone their car's getting a ticket or something, and
Hmm.
they're going, you're in a camp out, and they leave their backpack there, and someone like, you could look out for you could look out for the person, might not know them, but it's being a good person. So I think that's what it comes down to, and maybe again that's why Canadians get credit for being different in the sneaker culture. But the more people I meet from around, not just in the US but around the globe, and again, it's the globalization of sneakers that's doing it. I think we're all the same.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're all, like I said, no, in all walks of life, right? Like gender, creed, you know, everything, wherever you are, who you are, we all have that same passion, which is sneakers. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a common interest. Everybody has an opinion, and I think that's always important for us, even as an like us being elder statesmen of of what we like as a passion, compared to someone that's into sneakers, like reselling and bots and those kind of things. So I think, like I said, it's all different now. It's more of a generation thing, but people tend to forget. Hey, like remember like why you like these shoes to begin with, right? Like I won't hold it against someone who's born in 2002 and they never seen Michael Jordan play. It's like it's unfair for them. Just like for us, like we never saw like Will Chamberlain play or like Bill Russell play. Doesn't make me like any different versus like someone that's like younger. So, I try to be try to think about it in a positive mindset, because like, who am I to say, because I was once their age too. I was once a youngin, like, didn't know much, and I had, like, friends or elder, like, friends that taught me, like, hey, this is that. Okay. And then you just have to, like, respect and embrace the culture.
Absolutely. I'm in this battle. It's a in Kicks We Trust. They have a podcast, and I want to say that's why we do podcasts. I'm not speaking for you, but I know to share these positive experiences, and some of it's I don't like this, damn, like, but and I get bothered like everyone else. I see things or people doing things to each other that I don't
Mhm.
like, and I'll speak out or message people, but I try not to get too serious about it,
Mhm.
especially if it's just about sneakers. But I was in Kicks We Trust. They're doing a contest, and they had you're supposed to take a pic at the grocery store. So I did actually was wearing the Jordan ones, and they said it doesn't matter the pick, it just matters the sneakers. So I go for the throat. I take the 85 Chicago's out. I put down my basket, and I put the phone on the shelf. I put the timer on. We've all been there, maybe not at the grocery store, but somewhere.
Yeah.
And I did it, and the lady down the aisle's looking at me, and I'm just like, oh, this is for the contest. It's for the $150 gift card for any grocery store I want. Not really about that, but
Yeah.
I take the pick, and they put me up against a pair of who's actually another sneaker dad. So he's not a young guy. It's not like he's a young hypebeast. He picked out for obvious reasons the Ben and Jerry's dunks.
Oh.
And so they put is like, and I think they did intentionally, right? I
Yeah.
don't think it
Yeah.
was like old versus new. And a friend of mine, shout out Laced Heat, he said, John, I can't believe you're losing. I was losing by a couple of votes today. John, I can't believe you're losing. What's wrong with the game? I was like, nothing's wrong with the game. That's what people like. And he's
Yeah.
like, it must be young. They must be young
Hmm.
people. I said, I don't think they're young people. I'm sure there are young people. And then he said something, and it kind of made us both think. He said, I guess if you were born in 2000, you'd be 21 now. And I was like, yeah, like that's all you have to say. Like, he
Yep.
didn't say anything specific about the shoes. Everyone likes the
Hmm.
Ben and Jerry's dunks. You don't have to be 40, you don't have to be 20, you don't have to be 16. But he just made that statement about like age, that like 21, yeah, 2000, like 2000 doesn't feel like,
Yeah.
it feels like a different. So anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, we both are definitely on the same page with, like, certain things. Like I said, there's just embrace the current situation. There's can't if you just bitch and grind, whine about it. It's like, you're sitting in traffic, right? Like, perfect analogy. You're sitting in traffic, you get road rage. What's the point of having road rage? Everyone's going the same place. Everybody's going home. You know.
That's not going to get you out of traffic.
Exactly. Exactly. If you're just gonna keep hating, 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 what does that make you? Does it make you a better person or a bad person, or are you looking for attention? I mean, we should always try to, like, remind ourselves, hey, like, let's take a step back. Just that's what they like, and then just keep it moving, pretty much.
Yeah, and I want to be in the game. I love it. I don't know if I'll be in it in 20 more years, but there's so much I get out of it. I love the community aspect. I still love buying sneakers. I still love copying sneakers. I'm trying to sell more than I buy now, but there's so much I love, and I get out of it doing things like
Yeah.
this, doing my podcast and running the page and my own page. It's fun. And whether getting my kids involved with it or not, or my
Hmm.
wife, even sometimes my wife will send me a pic and she'll be like, "Is this good?" And I'll be like, usually it's like totally out of context or out of focus. I was like, we could work on it, honey, but
There
it
you
warms
go.
my heart.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
makes me proud. It might be a
Yeah.
terrible picture, but I'm loving that she's doing it.
E for effort, right? Yeah.
For
Awesome.
sure.
All right. So next question for you, John. So, relating to family, what's the feeling like? And you briefly touched about it. What's that feeling like to buy your child? If you have a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old, buying a pair of sneakers that you owned before.
So as I mentioned, actually I didn't mention, but my 13-year-old girl doesn't love sneakers. She'll let me buy for her. She'll pick out what she wants. She doesn't have a lot. and my son has a few more. So my son plays ball, and his feet are growing really quick. So I kind of have to, and he beats them up way more than my daughter. He's rough on them, so I have to buy him more.
Mm-hmm.
They still don't really have the urge to pick out pairs. And because we've been at home for the last year and a half, we haven't been shopping at malls. It feeds and same with buying my wife's shoes. It feeds my addiction. When I'm not copying for myself, I can buy them a pair. My son needs a new pair of hoop shoes. He's been fortunate enough to play hoops throughout the pandemic, so I've been able to buy him hoop shoes. So, but in terms of a pair I own, he had the black cement fours. My daughter had Brett 11s. Um, you know, I want them to understand what it all means and watch the Spike Lee commercials. They don't care. I mean, I told you I wanted to watch the commercials more than the games at some points.
Mm-hmm.
My son will sit and watch the commercials. He knows how important Michael Jordan is. My daughter likes the Raptors. She'll go to a game. She'll wear her jersey. She'll make sure she rocks her shoes then. She'll make sure she wears her Jordan 11. She's wearing them now. And sometimes she'll do it. I think she's doing it for me. I think she's doing it for me. But one story that relates to this, very recently, the Jordan 36 came out, and there's a Canadian WNBA player who's quite successful. Her name's Kia Nurse. She plays on Phoenix Mercury, and they did a shoe. She got a shoe. She got a 36, and I can't think of another Canadian that got a Jordan. I'm trying to think.
No,
I can't think of anyone ever. And man, I mean, there's lots of Canadian male ballers in the NBA now. Don't think any of them got a Jordan. She got a Jordan, and it was red and white. Canada represent. They were doing some global game kind of thing, and they gave her a shoe. And I showed it to my son. And right away, I was like, "Damn, this is a Canadian." Like, I kind of wanted to rep, but I'm trying not to buy shoes. So I definitely don't need a 36. I have Kobe 9s, I have 34s, I really like 29s. I'm looking at them right now. I have these dead stock pairs. I haven't played ball in a year and a half. I need to get to those before I get a pair of 36s. So again, like I said, buy my son a pair, justify it. He's going to wear it more than me. I showed it to him. I said, "You know who Kia Nurse is?" He was like, "Yeah, I know who Kia Nurse is." It's like, "These are Jordans. She's Canadian." He's like, "Oh yeah." I kind of showed a little bit of interest. And I said, "Well, you have ball shoes for this size and this size." And he said, "Okay, well, why don't you just get me a size up and I'll wear them next year?" I said, "Okay." That was all he was interested in. It was like, yeah, my dad's buying me shoes. Sure. I like them. They're Canadian. He was into it. He was a little distracted, as he usually is when I'm talking sneakers with him. He's not giving me his full attention. He's kind of giving me kind of polite, "Okay, Dad, yeah. But this was for him, so he paid attention. Shoes showed up like a week later. I just posted on my feed the other day, and I made a decision to, let's just say, elaborate and maybe stretch his interest. So I posted on my feed, and I apologized to Kia Nurse, more so than I apologized to Jumpman. I'm not going to apologize to Jumpman, but I'll apologize to Kia Nurse. I tagged Jumpman and Kia Nurse in my stories, and I said, "My son begged me for these." Because I wanted to give props. It's more exciting it's more cool for your son to say, "Dad, get me these. They're the first Canadian." And that's kind of what I wanted him to do. But he didn't. He just said, "Yeah, get them for me. Yeah, that's cool. Kia Nurse. Yeah, they're Canadian. I know who she is. Get me my size. I'll hoop in those for sure." That's even more interest than he showed, but he showed a little bit of interest. And then, of course, she reposts it because I do this thing about my son, of course. And it's like a good story, like not like she cares, not like it's like a big deal. It's not like it went viral, but she reposted, "Hey, that's dope," or something like that. And I showed him, and he's like, "Dad, I didn't say, I wasn't bugging out about them. I wasn't hyped. I didn't beg you for those." I was like, "That's not the point, son." Kia Nurse reposted. She's basically shouting you out. And all he could say was like, "Dad, you didn't tell the truth. That's not what happened." I was like, "That's basically what happened." So that's a good summary of where I am with my 9-year-old boy. When he was little, he got hyped. He was hyped in it. Now now he's getting to the point where he's almost ready to take over, and it'll be like, you know what, son, here's your shoe budget, kind of like we were talking about before, where there was no shoe budget, because a lot of us didn't have sneakerhead dads and moms. Most of us didn't. I don't actually know anyone who did. Maybe one or two people who were on my podcast told me about stories about their dads and moms buying them hype sneakers. So we're living in a different era, and that's one of the reasons why Sneaker Dads exist, because there's all these people like us who love buying sneakers for their kids and love taking pictures of sneakers for their kids. But at one point, your kids are going to say, Dad, you know what? He's off a bit. I don't care about sneakers. I want to play Roblox. I want to play Switch. You know what? Fine. Get me the shoes. Just be quiet about it. And that's basically what he said to me today. And he is going to like the shoes when he wears them next season or whatever. And he still loves his 34s. He just won't give me the credit. And he'll make some videos with me now. But he's just not. I think he's fatigued. I think having me around and doing all this sneaker stuff and recording podcasts. Hey, Callan, you want to hear my new intro beat? Here, honey, make my wife listen to it. Oh, they're just all like, you know what? We don't like sneakers as much as you, Dad. We've been doing this to be nice to you, but just you know what? It's enough for now. Just give us a break. That's what I'm feeling. And I got to give them a break. I don't feel bad. I'm doing my thing. If they don't want to be they want to be part of it, but just not as much as I want them to be.
Yeah, I think it's nice because they're very supportive, right? Like I said, like every
They are.
father, every sneaker dad, every sneaker mom, even your significant other, your spouse, your wife, your husband, even though they don't have the same passion as you do, at least they understand that, hey, like this is what he likes, this is what she likes. I have to respect it because this is the person. It comes with the territory,
For
like,
sure.
this is what, you embrace it. You love watching Spike Lee commercials, but even before watching Chicago Bull games, you like uh Nike ads, and you like the technology, and you like the nostalgia. I mean, I'm a big nostalgia guy too. I'm a big 90s, like, Nike basketball, like
Yeah.
head. um I think those are important things for us, that we also, for us being as fathers, like, we want to share those experiences with our family. But sometimes they can be receptive, sometimes we can't. So that's why, like, for like my kid too, like, he like, for example, like when we go out, he already says, oh, are we gonna match today? Because, like, I've always, ever since he was born, I said, you know what, when we get older, when he gets old enough, I'm gonna match everything. That I don't care what people say. It's just that as long as he likes it, we're just gonna keep doing it. So, we have matching shoes. Like, I bought sneakers before he was born. I've had him, he's good till 16 years old, and people think I'm crazy. But it's just like you have that mindset, right? Like, when he gets to that certain age, I don't have to pay out of pocket. He already has a sneaker like waiting. I mean, sneaker may deteriorate because of the age and the model that comes with the territory. But like, for us, we just have to continue to support and encourage. Not being forceful is the most important thing too, because the last thing that you want to hear is like, Dad, I don't like to wear sneakers anymore. Just give me Crocs. Like,
Yeah. Totally, and that's what I tell people. You can't push them, and I should give them more credit, because at the same time we were playing hoops out later to that story was fresh in my head, and it was more of a funny story. But he was wearing the shoes. He was like, Dad, take some pics, and I was like, okay. And he was just talking about pics of him shooting hoops. But he was like, did you get the jersey? And I was like, oh, okay, like, so he's into it. And like, my
Yeah.
daughter will roll her eyes at me, but like I said, my wife will take the pic once in a while, and my daughter will roll the eyes at me. But like, she's done that too. Like the other day we were at an appointment and she was wearing, it was like sports day at camp, so she was wearing her Kyle Lowry jersey, and she was like, Dad, do it. And she turned around and she put the jersey. I was like, do you want to wear my hat? And she put on her hat and my hat, and like she was wearing her Jordans, and she was into it. So it's not it's I get the feeling sometimes like I'm overdoing it, and I know it's because I am. But it's funny, I forgot to mention that Kia Nurse story. When my son, he plays Roblox and he plays whatever Tony Hawk now on Switch. But today for the first time in months, he wanted to play 2K. And he said, "We're going to be WNBA, Dad." And I was like, "Yeah, like whatever. It's a video game, and it's a sneaker. It's a Jordan 36." But it resonated with him, and like that's all you can ask for is that something that you tell them or something that you think is important. They listen. They don't have to care like you do.
Of course, and you shouldn't care. You shouldn't take it to heart, no matter. It's that's okay, or I don't need to know everything about the sneaker because you know everything, and you can just tell me, and can you just buy it for me because it makes you happy. Like I don't want to come to that point, but if I say, oh, we're gonna buy this, okay, like my son is just like very receptive. Like he doesn't say, I don't like it, it's ugly, because he knows. I think at his because he's as a 6-year-old, I think he knows that dad knows what's best for me, kind of thing. And that's it's a parent thing, right? We know we want what's best for our children.
Yeah, my kids are just getting older, and they're starting to have their own tastes, and I can sense like even my nieces and a couple of my nieces, I was like, get these dunks, those dunk highs that dropped recently for women. I was like, someone offered them to me. You don't want them? Like I ordered a pair for her birthday. She was like, no, I'm only wearing Air Force One whites. And I understand that trend. I understand it. For a 13-year-old girl, that would be it. And then there was like a crazy Adidas sale. I was like, don't you think you should have a pair of Superstars? She's like, I'm not wearing Adidas, Uncle. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I'll come back to you in another year.
There you go.
She'll be ready for
it.
it.
Want like Ultra Boost,
Yeah, to say no Adidas, it's fine. She's had that phase in her life. It won't last forever.
Awesome.
Some people are like that, but
I mean, it's okay.
She's not like that because of like people like us who are just Nike only. She's like that because she thinks it's the right thing to do, but in time.
Right. Definitely. Hey, that's thanks for sharing that, John. So, follow-up question with that: what is the best part of being a father and a longtime sneaker collector?
I got on this a little bit. I did make some content with my son, and another piece of credit I have to give it. He was on the podcast both once. He interviewed a friend of mine's son, or they went back and forth for a few minutes on the podcast, and then I had my son on the podcast once, just one-on-one, he and I, and it was a pretty hilarious. It was for my birthday. It was a pretty hilarious thing because he started telling me about what cars I could have bought instead of my sneakers, and he's like, Dad, you should cut your collection down in half. And it was quite funny. I also had my wife on, which people love that episode more than anything, but not to plug my podcast any more than I already have, but making the content with them, mostly my son. My daughter I've done a couple times, but she's not as into it. But that is really the most fun part. And it's not only sneaker content. He has a YouTube channel that he's kind of let slide, but we have a lot of fun doing it. And I do it because I think it's an important skill to have, when all this time at home, over the last year and a half, being a dad, a stay-at-home dad, I realized how important technology is, not just Zoom. They have all these tools online that I'm sure they're using in class too, that quite frankly sometimes, and again, I'm in my early 40s, I should know some of this stuff, but some of it was beyond me. And my son was showing me about all this technology stuff, and I want him to be able to use technology. It doesn't have to be making YouTube videos, but I think it's a good skill to have. So working together collaboratively on these things was a great time. But in addition to doing things with my kids, I wouldn't be doing Sneakerdads, the page or the podcast, if I wasn't a dad. So all the people I've met, everyone who's come on the podcast shared their stories. I mean, some of these people have never been on podcasts, and they're like, John, I don't know what to do. I don't think I'm going to be good. And, you know how it is. You have to put people at ease, and you have to send them questions maybe, or ease them into it. and they're not always the most comfortable. I've been lucky. I've had people who are into it. A couple times we had to go back and record a couple more extra minutes because people, but most of the time it's been really good. People have been really welcoming. Like I said, it's a community. It's like any other community. Maybe there's a Ultra Boost community. Maybe there's
Yeah, there is.
SB Dunk community. Sneakerdads. I mean, it existed before I don't know if I could even say I popularized the hashtag, but I probably can't say that, but claim the page at least. There were sneaker dads, and there'll be sneaker dads after I'm not doing this anymore. So it's nice to just have somewhere where people can come together. And like I said, it's not only sneaker dads. People have tons of other stories to tell, and not just because I'm a journalist, but it helps. I love hearing people tell their stories and getting them to. I love telling my own stories, as you could tell today, but I love getting the stories out of people. And I think that's we talk about what the good and the bad of the community. You listen to someone on a podcast, whether it's you guys talking to Air Magnos or someone else, or the guys on the Sneak Disc, giving their opinions on sneakers, and saying they're trash or fire. I mean, everyone's doing their own thing, and as long as they have a passion for it and are contributing, and not hurting anyone, it's great. I mean, people say there's too many sneaker podcasts, it's hard to keep up. Yeah, it's hard to keep up, and you can't listen to every single one every day, but I mean, that's a luxury to have too many sneaker podcasts. That's not, I mean, you remember back in the day, and we would be dying for these YouTube videos, and they would come out once a month, and it'd be like, I want to see this guy's collection, or I want to see whatever Don Drew's show. He was on my podcast. I can't believe I forget what his show was called. With Anyway, it's getting late, but we'd want this content. Now we have too much content, so it's like we're complaining like we have too much sneaker content. That's a tough, that's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah, I think people take it too seriously too. Like, hey, like I don't like this. Like everyone's like the same thing, and like we were talking before the podcast, like we're here to hear people's stories. That's why ours is very unique in our own different way. We all have the same passion. That's the number one thing that we all have in common is the love for sneakers, right? But everybody has their own way of asking questions and having a format and a presentation and these type of things. And like it's good to have variety. Sometimes you don't feel like listening to the same podcast. Maybe you want to listen to a new one, or you want to dabble into something else, like
Yep.
maybe something with like how creating sneakers, or restoring, for example. There's so many things that you can dabble with sneakers, and it doesn't have to be the same one. I mean, it's cool because like if it interests and passion, if you have a great like support for it, of course you'll support the subscriptions no matter what. Like yours, for example, like I look forward, not because like you're my guest, but I know you provide great content. Like I look forward because like, hey, I'm a sneaker dad, man. Like I totally can relate to everything that you guys are talking about, especially when you have like a sneaker parent, not just dads in general. I've been, I would say, hey man, I've been there, man. I know how it feels to like, you're watching your kid and you're trying to get like a sneaker, at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and trying to get the drop, and you just want to make sure like you're trying to do the other things. We've all been there. I think that's the common thing that we all have. Like we're here to, hey, like that's kind of funny because I used to do the same thing that you're doing. So it's good that sneaker dads is a great outlet for us to escape, and also to just share these great stories, because like you know these are all great things that we're talking about, because one day like our kids will be like, hey, like my dad has like 40 episodes talking about sneakers, and I'm just listening to him now, and like I can't believe like he's into this kind of stuff. maybe one day like our kids will like dabble into that stuff, but I'm not gonna force them. From the podcast, hopefully it'll still be around, as long as we can
Yeah,
continue to do it. I mean, that's my goal, is just to create it, like, our own legacy, as far as like
yeah.
our branding and what we're all about. I mean, those are important, like for me, and for yourself as well.
Yeah, my son won't listen to the podcast, but he wants to be on. He wants me to find more kids. So I'll say it on your podcast. Anyone whose kids want to talk sneakers for 10 minutes with my son on Sneakerdads, come on, because my son's dying to do it. He loved it so much. He
Yeah,
doesn't like hearing me talk about it, but he likes to talk about himself,
yeah,
and
hey,
he will talk about sneakers.
yeah,
Then he'll talk about sneakers. He doesn't want to talk to me about it in the
yeah.
living room.
You know
He
what?
wants to talk to other kids. It could be a whole podcast itself. I'm not ready to produce it. An hour of kids talking
Yeah,
about sneakers. One day someone will do that.
yeah. So there's this one sneaker collector, based from Washington D.C. I'm sure this is not Abdul. Abdul, right?
Yeah, he was
Or
on the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. So like, I know he was one of your guests, and he showcases two daughters, and
Yeah,
I have a ball like every time like I see content, like when his daughters are just talking about sneakers, and then the
they're
way it's
great.
edited, they're
Yeah, his
great.
editing is very amusing. He's a funny guy and had some good insights on the podcast. But his daughters are good. His daughters, you could tell they're into it, and
Yeah,
I'm sure he has to convince them a little bit and twist
exactly.
their arms,
Yeah,
but they're having fun. And when it doesn't become fun with the kids, they'll make them do it. Don't even make them take a picture,
no,
right? I mean,
no, I don't want to
I've
be
I've
that
had that.
parent.
Yeah, no.
No,
And
no.
then like your partner is going to be, your wife or your girlfriend is going to be
Yeah,
like, what are you doing, like,
yeah,
and then it all falls apart, and then and then there's no more sneakers, and then it's all, you got to
yep,
keep everyone on board, keep everyone
yeah.
happy.
See, like for me as a dad, right? That's the crucial balance, right? Of maintaining work life, and then personal
Yeah,
life, and then passion with sneakers, and then your
yeah,
family time, and then time with your wife and your child and your job. I mean,
sure.
we're doing a juggling act every day, every single minute, every single hour. That's important. That's why, like time management, like I've learned, through trial and error, that's very important, that you need to have that, you know, while they're sleeping, you can do your thing, and when they wake up, you're on their time now. So I've learned that the hard way. I can't, do the things that I used to do when I was single or had a girlfriend or no kids. It's different, and you can, I'm sure, parents can relate to that.
Yeah, and I tell, having kids my that age of my kids, it's like, okay, it's time to put the screens away, guys. Time to do something else. And then I'm there sitting on my screen, and I'm scrolling through Instagram or looking for sneakers or looking for hats, and I got my laptop up, and I'm supposed to be working. I'm supposed to be work, and my son just cruises by, looks over my shoulder. He's like, "Dad, what are you doing? Like, why is that up there?" And he calls me out, and I appreciate it, because I'm trying to set an example. I'm trying to tell him what to do at this time.
Yeah, yeah,
Or in the car, like I get an alert, and God forbid I'm like trying to cop something. He's like, "Dad, what are you doing? Like, you're driving me." He's like, he calls me out now, not because I'm on my phone, because he doesn't want me to crash. He
yeah,
knows that it's unsafe. When he was little, it was like, "Dad, why are you on your phone?" Or, "Dad,
yeah,
can I see what you're looking at?" Or, "Dad," now it's like, "Dad, you're going to crash the car. Stop." And it's like, "Yeah, son, thank you. You're a good influence." And he's a good influence. And my daughter too, on me to just, put it away. You don't need to be on Instagram right now. I
yeah.
mean, or looking for sneakers. So in the last year and a half, this pandemic has, I think, taught everyone a few things.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just embracing the moment, right? Just enjoying every day, and every time like you're surrounded with sneakers, and it makes you happy, makes you feel a certain way. It's nice. It's nice to just have that outside outlet, outside of work, outside of like what's going on current, what's going on. So all right. So, last question for you, John. I appreciate the time here.
No
So,
problem.
what advice can you give to the newly and upcoming like dads?
Well, other than not pushing your kids too much into it, the big advice is don't buy too much. Number one, kids grow way quicker than you think they do. So you talked about buying for your son and getting some. Now, there's the factor of, yeah, are the shoes going to fall apart? He's 6. If you're buying size 11, we're looking 10 years probably.
Mm-hmm.
If you bought them 2 years ago, that's too soon. They might
Yeah.
fall apart. Now,
Yeah.
most people don't buy adult shoes
No,
for their
no.
6-year-old kids, but some people do.
Uh-huh.
Some people will say, "Oh, I'm doubling up," and I actually do this. My son's catching up to me quick, so I could justify it. I'll say, "You know what? Why my son? If I don't need them, my son will wear them. Of course, my son's going to be interested in Jordan 1 lows for sure. Like, how do I know that? Like,
Yeah.
there's zero guarantee he's going to
Yeah.
want a pair of neutral gray Jordan 1 lows. Zero guarantee yet. Yet I can justify having 2 pairs because of that. So, but in general, just don't buy your kids too many shoes. They're going to grow out of them. Don't spend too much on them because they're going to beat them up. I know people like the pictures and looking hype and fine. If you want to buy your kids expensive clothes, I know lots of people do it. I bought my kids stuff before. I like them to look good. They don't care. They're going to beat it
No,
up.
they don't.
They're going to spill shit on it. They're going
Yep.
to they're going to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, don't assume they're not going to grow out of it too quickly. Don't get caught up. I've been trying to not buy sneakers this summer, particularly. I've been trying to do a no cop summer, and then I see a pair for my wife, or I see a pair for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and it's part of my rule not to buy them. And I've been good, luckily. But even in other times when I've been trying not to buy pairs, um, I'll buy for them because it scratches that same itch, right?
Yeah, it does.
Like you can buy it gives you the satisfaction. Sometimes you can't get that dunk, you can't get the Brazil dunk in an adult size. Well, you can get it in a kid size, so you can't get the Alma Meuniers in your size, but you can get them in a kid size.
Mm-hmm.
And your kid doesn't want Alma Meunier threes. They don't know what that is. You
No.
want them.
Yeah,
So
you want them. Yeah.
remember who you're buying them for, and remember if they're practical. My son's 9; he's fine tying his shoes. He ties his ball shoes. When he runs out of the house or is in school, they make him change shoes. The last thing he wants is a Jordan 1 high or something that he has to lace up and
Mm-hmm.
sit there while his friends are running outside. He wants a cheap slip-on.
Mm-hmm.
I got him Harachis for $40 because he doesn't have to unlace them.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, practicality, and also for a parent, right? You're sitting by the door. Anyone knows how tough it is to get your kids out the door or in the car. Those transitions, disaster if you're sitting there and your wife's looking at you like, you're really lacing up these Jordan 1s while we're late for this family function. And then you're like, yeah, we got to take this pic. We got to take this fit pic at the family picnic, honey. Like, there's a reason why we're wearing these Jordan 1s. So that kind of balance
Mm-hmm.
between like, all right, well, throw the Harachis on, bring the Jordan 1s in the car, and then sit in the back seat with your kids while they're watching whatever or listening to music or
Yeah.
eating a snack. Then you got to have strategy. You got to be strategic. Don't let them think that it's your priority, even if it is. Right?
Yeah.
If the priority is getting that fit pic at the family barbecue, just don't tell your wife that.
Just
Just
make it.
do it.
Yeah.
Just
make
do
it
it.
feel organic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it smoothly, do it quickly, be smart about it. And if your kid's screaming because you can't squeeze the Jordan 1 on, and it's like the family's causing stress about it, it's not worth it. Put the Vans on, put the Crocs on, just do whatever. It's not worth it. It's never supposed to be, like we said, it's never supposed to be not fun.
Mm-hmm.
So but the big one I think is the budgeting and the not spending the money, and realize that if you're buying your kids a pair of shoes, you're doing it probably for yourself. So it counts. It
It
counts in
does
your
count.
in your
It does
column
count. Yeah.
for sure. Same
Especially
with
if
the
you
wife.
say, yeah, if you say like, oh, it's a good price. That's why I bought it for you. It's like in a way, it's like that's me wearing them, but it's in your size kind of thing, you know?
Same thing we do. We do that for ourselves, right? It's like, oh yeah, it was on sale. Yeah, spring sale, fall sale, whatever.
Yeah.
I got a good price, get
Yeah,
it for the
last
kids.
size. This
It's
is the
like,
last size. Like, am I gonna say no and walk away? It's not, and it's gonna be gone the next day.
I do that so often. So you get like the last size, and it's usually
Mhm.
pretty small. So it'd be like a last size 5, and it's like 70% off. I was like, yeah, my son will wear this.
Exactly.
And it goes in the closet. And that kind of shoe is usually the one he wears once or twice,
Yeah.
or he doesn't wear it at all, and it gets
Mhm.
given away or
Yep.
gets sold, or something that just didn't
Yeah.
need to spend that $40 or that $70 or whatever. So yeah, a little bit of discipline, and it goes a long way because it sets the example for the kids. We talk about this at Sneaker Dads a lot. Sets an example, right? You're spending money, boxes are coming in the door. I've gone through this a lot. My kids are like, where's my box? Like, why am I not getting toys? Like,
Mhm.
you're getting boxes every day, Dad? Like, and that's not what's coming out of their mouths. It's not like they're that entitled, but we talk about being entitled. But it's like, yeah, what, Dad, what, why do you need all these shoes?
Mhm.
It's like, I asked for something, you're telling me I have to learn the value of money. Well, what's up?
Yeah.
It's just not a good example sometimes. I mean, we do what we do. We work hard, should have hobbies, should have passions. Nothing wrong with that. Just
Yeah.
be responsible, and I set a good example. It's tough, but as long as you keep your head on and remind the kids, I think it's still doable.
Yeah. Hey, those are great, advice, words of advice that you shared, John. So, wow, that's a lot of knowledge and a lot of sneaker stories that you've shared. Um, thank you so much for coming on. So, if you want to plug in your podcast, tell us more about it for the new listeners that we'll have on.
Sure. So, just aired episode 50, got 2 parts. Podcast is Sneaker Dads. The page is Sneaker Dads, mostly just post, people's pictures with their kids and things like that. Podcast going strong, starting year 2 in a couple weeks. We'll have some guests already ready to go. Took a little bit of time off. So everyone, please check it out. I can't thank you enough for having me on. It was a lot of fun. Love hearing your perspective. I'll have to hit you up to have you on.
Hey,
And
let's do
so
it.
this season, year 2, we could do that. But so everyone keep an eye out for that, but still keeping it strong every week. And so yeah, everyone, not I want to emphasize it's not only for dads. I've had a lot of guests on who have nothing to talk about parenting, nothing to do with dads, but even when the dads talk and moms talk, it's like this. It's not all about kids and buying baby shoes and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And my personal page, or my personal sneaker page, is Heads Ain't Ready, if people want to see my sneakers and stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John,
Thank
for
you.
for coming on. It's been great, and yeah, let me know if when I'm ready for season 2. Just give me the
For sure.
call.
For sure. Maybe we can recruit your son. I don't know if he's
Oh
into
yeah,
it, but
let's do it.
six
Yeah,
six is old enough to talk for
6.
five,
Yeah,
10 minutes
yeah. We can
about
do like
sneakers.
we'll have some shoes that they can talk
Yeah,
about. And like,
that's
hey,
exactly
these are the Michael Jordans that like my dad bought. Like I
that's what
wore
we
these a
do.
lot.
My son would like that because having a younger kid, he could kind of like lead the way and kind of say,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, what do you do?" Like, we'll talk about it, but it'll be fun. And
absolutely.
this was fun. So again, uh, appreciate what you do, and yeah, thanks again for having me.
Awesome. All right, so this is episode 40, guys. Have a good night.